Most people read Daniel chapter 3 as a story about a king who became angry and ordered men who refused to obey him to be thrown into a fire. A story about power, control, and punishment. But what if that's not the full story? What if we look deeper? Because scripture is not always literal. It is layered, symbolic, and revealing something within you. What if this not just about a king, but about what tries to rule you? Not just about fire, but about the pressure you feel in life. Not just about three men, but about the part of you that refuses to bow. What if the furnace is not a place you avoid, but a moment you recognize? In this teaching, we are not just reading Daniel 3, we are decoding it. Because when you see it clearly, you won't just understand the story, you will understand yourself. So let's begin. Daniel chapter 3, verse 1. Nebuchadnezzar the king made an image of gold, whose height was 60 cubits, and the breadth thereof 6 cubits. He set it up in the plain of Dura, in the province of Babylon. Nebuchadnezzar the king. King represents what rules or governs. This represents the ruling mindset or ego or outer authority. This is the part of you that seeks control, the part that defines identity externally. What rules you or shapes you? Made an image of gold. Image equals identity or representation. Gold equals value, worth, status. This is a constructed identity based on external value, such as success, wealth, status, and recognition. This is not your true self. It is what is created to be seen. Now we come to the measurements of it. The height is 60 cubits. The breadth is 6 cubits. The number 6 is the number of man or human system or imperfection. The number 10 represents government or structure. So we have 6 times 10, which is 60. So we have amplified human structure. This represents a magnified human identity system. Something built by man, sustained by man, and centered on external value. He set it up This is intentional. It shows this system is established deliberately. It doesn't just appear. It is constructed and reinforced. In the plane of Dura, plane equals open space, no elevation. Dura equals cycle or circle or enclosure. This represents a level of consciousness where everything is flat and repetitive. No elevation in awareness. No deeper questioning, just cycles. This is living without higher awareness. Next, province of Babylon. Babylon represents confusion, mixture, distortion. This represents a state of confusion and external influence. State of many voices, many standards, and no clear truth. This is the environment where this image is established. The deep insight. This verse is showing the creation of a system that defines identity externally and expects everyone to align with it. The key truth. Before anyone is told to bow, the image must first be created. Meaning, the system must first define what is valuable, what is acceptable, and what is successful. Example, in relationship, what we see today. Relationship gurus teaching how to know he or she is the one. Different checklists and rules. Viral advice clips. And the message becomes, this is what a real relationship should look like. What's really happening? An image is being created. An image of the perfect partner, the perfect behavior, the perfect relationship. And people begin to measure their real relationship against a created standard. Where it becomes dangerous, advice itself isn't the issue. The issue is when it replaces your own awareness, where you stop observing your partner directly, where you start filtering everything through what you heard online, where you begin comparing instead of connecting. The subtle shift. You start thinking, maybe this isn't right. They don't match what I heard. What if I'm settling? Even when there was no real issue before. The result: you create tension where there was peace. You question what was working. You disrupt something real. Not because it was wrong, but because it didn't match the image. Connection to the verse. It says an image of gold was set up, and people were expected to align with it. In the same way, the perfect relationship image is set up, and people begin to judge their reality against it. The key truth: not every voice is meant to define your relationship. Some voices inform and some guide, but none should replace your ability to see clearly for yourself. A real connection cannot always be measured by what is trending, because what is real is not always what is displayed. The shift: instead of asking, does my relationship match what I've been told? Ask, what do I actually experience in this connection? Is it peace, respect, growth, or clarity? Because truth is not something you copy. It is something you discern. The moment you stop seeing what is in front of you clearly and start comparing it to what has been presented to you, is the moment you begin to lose touch with what is real. In career, what we see today: social media success stories, six-figure income culture, hustle and grind messaging. And the message becomes, this is what success looks like. What's really happening? An image is created. An image of the high-paying job, the luxury lifestyle, the visible success. And people begin to measure their lives against it. Where it becomes dangerous: success itself is not the issue. The issue is when someone else defines it for you. When that happens, you stop asking what fulfills you. You start chasing what is celebrated. You compare your journey constantly. And the subtle shift: you begin to think, I'm behind. I should be doing more. I need to get there. Even when you were once content and aligned. The result: you feel pressured. You lose clarity. You chase things that don't reflect you. And sometimes, people compromise values just to match the image. Connection to the verse. It says, an image of gold was set up, and people began to see it as the standard. In the same way, success is displayed, and people begin to bow to it without questioning. In religion, what we see today, public displays of spirituality, structured expectations. This is how to be right with God teachings and religious influences. The message becomes, this is what a true believer looks like. What's really happening? An image is created. An image of how to pray, how to speak, how to behave, what to believe. And people begin to conform to that image. Where it becomes dangerous, faith itself is not the issue. The issue is when it becomes external performance, where you stop connecting inwardly. You start acting outwardly. You rely on what is seen instead of what is real. The subtle shift. You begin to feel, I have to do it this way. I shouldn't question. I need to look like this. Even when something within you is not aligned. The result, you silence your awareness. You perform instead of connect. You follow without understanding, all to match the image of a true believer. Connection to the verse. The image is established, and people are expected to align outwardly instead of connecting inwardly. The world will always present you with images of what to be, what to have, what to follow. But not everything that is presented is meant to define you. The moment you begin to live based on what is displayed, instead of what is true within you, is the moment you begin to bow without even realizing it. Next verse. Then Nebuchadnezzar the king sent to gather together the princes, the governors, and the captains, the judges, the treasurers, the counselors, the sheriffs, and all the rulers of the provinces to come to the dedication of the image which Nebuchadnezzar the king had set up. Sent to gather together. This is intentional. After the image is created, the next step is to gather people around it. This represents influence and spread. It doesn't stay personal. It becomes collective. What was created now begins to draw others in. Next line, princes, governors, captains, different levels of authority. This represents every level of influence within a system. Leadership, decision makers, enforcers, influencers. This is important. The image is not just shown, it is endorsed by authority. Next, judges, treasurers, counselors. This represents judgment, what is right and wrong. Value, what is important. And guidance, what to follow. This shows the image begins to shape standards, values, and direction. Not just behavior, but thinking. Next line, all the rulers of the provinces. This is total coverage. It represents complete system-wide influence. The image becomes the standard everywhere. Next line, to come to the dedication of the image. Dedication equals formal acceptance. This is not casual exposure. It is official recognition. The image is now being established as the standard, which the king has set up. This image is constructed, not natural. Yet, it is being treated as absolute. What's really happening? This verse reveals the system doesn't just create an image. It gathers people, authority, and influence to make it unquestionable. The key truth: the stronger the system, the more voices it uses to make something feel normal, right, and necessary. For example, in career, it's not just one post or one person. It's everywhere. Social media, companies, influencers, society, all reinforcing what success should look like. The result: it feels universal. It feels unquestionable. It feels like the only path, because everyone is echoing the same message. In relationship, it's not just one relationship guru. It's friends, social media, movies, influences, all shaping what love should look like. The result: you feel pressure to match it. You question your reality. You compare constantly, because the message is everywhere. In religion, it's not just one teaching, it's leaders, traditions, institutions, and communities, all reinforcing how faith should look. The result: it feels authoritative, it feels final, it feels unquestionable because it is supported by structure. The pattern breakdown: an image is created, authority gathers around it, it is endorsed, it becomes system-wide, it feels unquestionable. This is systemic reinforcement. What is repeated by many voices can begin to feel like truth, even when it was created by design. The moment something is supported by many voices, many authorities, and many systems, is the moment it becomes hardest to question. Next verse. Then the princes, the governors, and captains, the judges, the treasurers, the counselors, the sheriffs, and all the rulers of the provinces were gathered together unto the dedication of the image that Nebuchadnezzar the king had set up. And they stood before the image that Nebuchadnezzar had set up. Were gathered together. What was planned in verse 2 is now executed. This represents people actually coming into alignment with the system. Not just hearing about it, not just seeing it, but showing up for it. All the rulers of the provinces, the same list is repeated. This is emphasis. It shows complete agreement. No visible resistance. Everyone at every level is present. Unto the dedication of the image. Dedication equals acceptance or recognition. This is important. They are not forced yet. They are participating willingly. This is the stage where something becomes socially accepted. Next line, which Nebuchadnezzar had set up. This is constructed, yet it is being treated as the standard. They stood before the image. Standing before equals positioning yourself. This represents alignment and readiness. They are now in position to respond. This is before bowing, but they are already placed in front of it. The deep insight. This verse shows the moment where something shifts from external system to personal environment. The key truth: before people bow, they first stand in front of what they will eventually align with. This is exposure to position, to conformity. Example, in career, it's no longer just seeing success online. Now, you enter the environment, you join the system, you surround yourself with it. You are now standing before the image. The result: you begin to feel pressure. You begin to compare. You begin to adjust. Not because you were forced, but because you are now in it. In relationship, it's no longer just advice. Now, you constantly consume relationship content. You discuss it. You apply it. You are now standing before the image. The result: you begin to compare your partner. You start questioning your reality. You shift your expectations. The environment begins to influence your perception. In religion, it's no longer just hearing teachings. Now, you are fully in the system. You participate regularly. You are surrounded by it. You are now standing before the image. The result: you begin to conform. You hesitate to question. You align with what is practiced because you are positioned within it. The pattern breakdown. The image is created. Authority gathers. People are invited. People show up. They stand before the image. This is position before conformity. You don't bow immediately. You first stand long enough in front of something until it begins to feel normal. The shift: instead of asking, why did I start thinking this way? Ask, what have I been consistently standing in front of that is shaping how I see things? Because environment shapes perception. The moment you place yourself in front of something repeatedly is the moment it begins to influence you. Before you even realize you are aligning with it. Next verse, verse 4. Then an herald cried aloud, "To you it is commanded, all people, nations, and languages." Herald equals messenger or announcer. Cried aloud equals loud, public, undeniable. This represents a voice that cannot be ignored, such as repeated messaging, public declarations, and cultural narratives. This is no longer subtle influence. It is clear communication. Next line, to you it is commanded. This is the shift from suggestion to expectation. What was once optional now feels required. Next line, all people, nations, and languages. This represents universal reach, different backgrounds, different cultures, and different perspectives, yet one message. This shows how widespread the system is. The deep insight. This is the moment where influence becomes pressure. The system now says, this is what you must do. The key truth. What is repeated long enough eventually feels like a command. Example, in career, it's no longer just seeing success. Now the message becomes, you must level up. You must achieve more. You must reach this standard. It starts to feel like a requirement. The result, you feel pressured. You feel behind. You feel like you have no choice. Not because it's true, but because the message is loud and constant. In relationship, it's no longer just advice. Now it becomes, if they don't do this, leave. If they are not like this, it's wrong. This is how a relationship should be. It feels like a fixed standard. The result, you feel pressure to evaluate constantly. You feel like something is wrong. You question your connection because you feel like you must follow it. In religion, it's no longer just teaching. Now it becomes, you must believe this. You must act this way. You must follow this pattern. It feels like non-negotiable truth. The result, you hesitate to question. You feel pressure to conform. You feel fear around deviation because it is presented as absolute. Not every loud voice is truth. Some voices are simply repeated until they sound like authority. The moment something is declared with confidence, with repetition, and with authority, is the moment it begins to feel like you have no choice, even when you do. Verse 5, that at what time ye hear the sound of the cornet, flute, harp, sackbut, psaltery, a simmer, and all kinds of music, ye fall down and worship the golden image that Nebuchadnezzar the king had set up. At what time ye hear the sound? This is timing. It represents triggered response. Meaning, the system creates moment where you are expected to react, not think, not discern, but respond automatically. Next, cornet, flute, harp, all kinds of music. Music equals emotion, atmosphere, and influence. The trigger is not logical, it is emotional. Sound influences feeling. Feeling influences action. This represents emotional conditioning. All kinds of music. This variety, it shows multiple forms of influence, different voices, different styles, different approaches, but all leading to one outcome. Ye fall down. This is action. Fall down equals submit or lower yourself. It represents surrendering your position. This is giving up discernment, giving up independence, yielding to the system. Next line, and worship the golden image. Worship equals give value, prioritize, center your life around. It's not just bowing physically, it's giving your attention, energy, and identity to it. Next line, which Nebuchadnezzar had set up. Again, this is constructed influence, not truth discovered, but truth presented. What's really happening? This verse reveals the system uses emotion plus timing plus repetition to create automatic conformity. The key truth: the most powerful control is not force. It is conditioning your response. Example, in career, what happens? You see success posts, promotions, lifestyle content, and instantly you feel behind. You feel pressure. You feel urgency. That feeling becomes your trigger. The result: you act quickly. You chase without thinking. You compare constantly, not from clarity, but from emotion. In relationship, what happens? You hear, if they don't do this, leave. This is what love looks like. And you feel doubt, fear, and pressure. That feeling becomes your trigger. The result: you question your partner. You react emotionally. You create issues, not from truth, but from influenced perception. In religion, you experience music, gatherings, and emotional environments, and you feel moved, convicted, and pressured. That feeling becomes your response. The result, you act without questioning. You follow without understanding. You conform emotionally, not from awareness, but from atmosphere. Not every feeling is truth. Some feelings are responses to what you've been exposed to. The shift, instead of asking, why do I feel this way? Ask, is this coming from within me? Or is this a reaction to what I just heard or saw? Because awareness breaks conditioning. The moment you react without pausing, without questioning, without discerning, is the moment you are no longer choosing. You are responding. Verse 6. And whoso falleth not down and worshipeth, shall the same hour be cast into the midst of a burning fiery furnace. Whoso falleth not down. Choice is now defined. There are only two options presented: bow or refuse. This represents forced alignment. No middle ground is offered. Next line, and worshipeth not. Worship equals give value, priority, allegiance. This means if you do not align, if you do not conform, there is a consequence. Next line, shall the same hour. This is immediate. It represents urgency and pressure. No time to think. No time to reflect. You are pushed to decide quickly. Next line, be cast into. Cast equals thrown or forced. This represents being pushed into an uncomfortable state. Not chosen, but experienced as a result. Next line, the burning fiery furnace. Fire equals intensity, pressure, discomfort. Furnace equals enclosed system, overwhelming condition. The consequence is intense internal pressure, such as fear, anxiety, rejection, isolation, and loss. This is emotional and psychological. The deep insight. This verse reveals the system uses fear of consequence to enforce conformity. The key truth: most people don't conform because they believe something is true. They conform because they fear what happens if they don't. Example, in relationship, you come across relationship advice. How to know if they are the one. Signs you are circling. And it makes you feel uncertain, curious, and slightly uneasy. At this point, nothing is wrong yet, but something has been introduced into your mind. Now the thoughts begin. What if I chose the wrong person? What if I'm wasting my time with this person? What if there's someone better out there? What if I'm missing out? This is the key shift from feeling to fear. The dangerous illusion, thinking the grass is greener somewhere else. And once this enters, you start comparing. You start questioning. You start analyzing everything. Not from clarity, but from fear of loss or missing out. What happens next? You begin to notice flaws you ignored before. You interpret things negatively. You create problems where there was none. The relationship didn't change. Your perception did. Connection to the verse. The music played, which is trigger. The command followed, which is fear. And people bowed. Not because they understood, but because they felt something and feared what would happen if they didn't respond. The deep truth. Sometimes you don't leave because something is wrong. You leave because a thought was planted and fear made it feel real. Not every doubt comes from truth. Some doubts are planted, watered by fear, and grow into something that was never real to begin with. The shift. Instead of asking, what if this isn't the right person? Pause and ask, did something actually change? Or did something I heard change how I'm seeing this? Because clarity feels different from fear. The most dangerous moment is not when something is wrong. It is when fear convinces you something is wrong when it isn't. In career, you come across six-figure income content, luxury lifestyle posts. You should be here by now messaging. And it makes you feel pressure, comparison, and restlessness. At this point, nothing is actually wrong with your life, but something has been introduced into your mind. Now the thoughts begin. What if I'm behind in life? What if I don't make it? What if I'm wasting my time here? What if I never reach that level? This is the shift from feeling to fear. The dangerous illusion, thinking everyone else is ahead of me. And once this enters, you stop appreciating where you are. You rush decisions. You chase things that don't align. Nothing externally changed. Your perception changed. What happens next? You may leave a stable path impulsively. Compromise your values. Chase status over purpose. Not because your path was wrong, but because fear made it feel wrong. In religion, you hear strong teachings, emotional messages. This is the only way. And you feel conviction, pressure, and urgency. At this point, you may already have inner understanding, but something external has been introduced. Now the thoughts begin. What if I'm wrong? What if I'm not doing enough? What if I don't follow this and something happens? This is the shift from feeling to fear. The dangerous illusion. Thinking if I don't follow this exactly, I'm in danger. And once this enters, you stop trusting your inner awareness. You suppress your understanding. You conform outwardly. Nothing about truth changed. Your confidence in it did. What happens next? You begin to perform instead of connect. You follow without understanding. You silence your discernment, not because you lack truth, but because fear overrides it. Verse 7. Therefore, at that time, when all the people heard the sound of the cornet, flutes, harp, sackbut, psaltery, and all kinds of music, all the people, the nations, and the languages fell down and worshipped the golden image that Nebuchadnezzar the king had set up. Therefore, this connects everything. Meaning, because of the image in verse 1, the system, verse 2 to 3, the command, verse 4, the trigger, verse 5, and the fear in verse 6, now comes the result. When all the people heard the sound, same trigger as before. This shows this system is working exactly as designed. The moment the trigger appears, the response follows. All the people, nations, and languages, everyone. This represents collective conformity. It feels like everybody is doing it. And this makes it even harder to resist. Fell down. They responded. It represents giving in, not necessarily because they believed it, but because they felt and feared enough to act. Worship the golden image. Worship equals giving value, attention, identity. This is the final step, which is alignment. What was once external is now internalized, which Nebuchadnezzar had set up. Again, this was constructed, yet it is being fully accepted. What's really happening? This is the moment where conditioning becomes behavior. People don't just feel it, they act on it. The key truth: you don't fully bow when you feel something. You bow when you act on that feeling without questioning it. In relationship, what happens? Earlier, you felt doubt. You feared missing out. Now you act. You create issues. You withdraw. You leave prematurely. Not because something was truly wrong, but because you believed the fear. In career, earlier you felt behind. You feared failure. Now you act. You rush decisions. You chase status. You abandon alignment. Not because your path was wrong, but because fear drove your action. In religion, earlier you felt pressure. You feared being wrong. Now you act. You conform outwardly. You stop questioning. You follow blindly. Not because you understood, but because you didn't want to be wrong. Instead of asking, why did I do that? Ask, what did I feel? And what did I fear that led me to act this way? Because behavior always has a root. The moment you act without questioning, without pausing, without discerning, is the moment you are no longer just influenced, you are aligned with it. Verse 8. Wherefore at that time, certain Chaldeans came near and accused the Jews. Jews represent the part of you that is in covenant with truth. Not ethnicity in this layer, but the inner identity that belongs to God or truth. The part of you set apart from the system. The part that refuses to bow to a false image. The consciousness that remembers its source. So, in Daniel 3:8, certain Chaldeans came near and accused the Jews symbolically means the system notices the part of you that will not conform. The Chaldeans represent the observing or enforcing voices of Babylon, which is the thoughts, people, or systems that monitor whether you are bowing like everyone else. The Jews represent the inner remnant that says, I know what everyone else is doing, but I cannot bow to what is not true. Relationship example. The Jew in you is the part that refuses to let social media, relationship gurus, friends, or trends define your relationship for you. It says, I will observe clearly. I will not create problems where there are none. I will not bow to fear-based relationship standards. Career example. The Jew in you is the part that refuses to measure your worth only by title, salary, luxury, or status. It says, I can grow without losing myself. I can succeed without worshiping the image. In religion, the Jew in you is the part that remains loyal to truth, even when the system demands performance or blind conformity. It says, I honor truth more than appearance. The Jews in this verse represent the part of you that is still consecrated to truth, the part Babylon cannot fully own. Verse 9. They spake and said to the king Nebuchadnezzar, O king, live forever. They spake and said. They begin to speak. It represents the voice of accusation forming, not just noticing, but now expressing, framing the situation. And what is spoken next will shape perception. Next line, to the king Nebuchadnezzar. The king equals what governs. This represents appealing to your ruling mindset. The accusation is not random. It is directed toward what controls decisions. O king, this is addressing authority directly. It shows targeted influence. They are trying to influence the highest level of control. Next line, live forever. It's not just greeting, it is flattery. This represents affirming the system to gain influence. This is appealing to ego, appealing to power, strengthening the authority being addressed. Before accusation, they first reinforce the authority. The deep insight. This verse reveals, before something is challenged, the system aligns itself with power first. The key truth. Accusation often comes wrapped in agreement with authority to make it more effective. Examples. In relationship, what you hear, you deserve to be treated like a queen or king. You should be spoiled. A real partner will do this for you. Look at me, I have it. You can too. It sounds empowering, affirming, attractive, and that's why it works. What's really happening? Before anything else, your ego is being affirmed. Your worth is elevated. Your expectations are raised. Your desire is activated. This is exactly what we saw. All kin live forever. Flattery comes first, then influence follows. The subtle shift. You begin to think, maybe I should be getting more. Maybe this isn't enough. Maybe I'm settling. Not because something actually changed, but because something was introduced and amplified. The missing question: how do you know what they are saying is true? You don't know their full story. You don't know what's behind what they show. You don't know what they sacrificed or tolerate. But it feels true because it was presented confidently and attractively. What happens next? You begin to compare your relationship. Raise expectations suddenly. See lack where there was peace. The relationship didn't change. Your standard shifted based on external influence. Connection to the verse. All kin live forever. They affirm the king first, so what they say next would be accepted easily. In the same way, you are affirmed first, then your perception is influenced. The balanced truth, important. Some messages help you recognize when you are undervalued, but others create dissatisfaction where there was none. The difference is discernment, not emotion. Not everything that makes you feel powerful is leading you to truth. Some things are designed to feel good, so you stop questioning them. Not every message that lifts you up is meant to guide you. Some messages lift you just enough to make you believe what comes next. In career, what you hear: you should be making 6 figures by now. You are meant for more. If you are not here, you are behind. Look at my lifestyle. You can have it too. It feels motivating, inspiring, and urgent. What's really happening? Your ambition and ego are activated. Then a new definition of success is introduced: money, status, and visibility, without context, without full truth. The unverified belief. You begin to accept this is success. I should be here. Without asking, is this aligned with me? Now you start to feel behind, feel dissatisfied, question your path. Your path didn't change, your standard did. In religion, what you hear: this is the right way. This is truth. You must follow this. This is how to be accepted by God. It feels certain, authoritative, and convincing. What's really happening? Authority is being established first. Then a belief system is presented as absolute, without personal verification, without inner confirmation. The unverified belief. You begin to accept, this must be true. I shouldn't question this, without asking, does this align with truth within me? Now you start to doubt your own understanding. You suppress your awareness and conform outwardly. Truth didn't change. Your confidence in it did. Not everything that sounds empowering is rooted in truth. Some messages are designed to feel right, so you stop asking if they are true. The shift. Instead of asking, does this sound right? Ask, have I actually verified this? Or am I accepting it because of how it was presented? The most powerful influence does not force you. It convinces you without proof until you begin to live by something you never truly examined. Verse 10 to 12. Thou, O king, hast made a decree that every man that shall hear the sound of the cornet, flute, harp, sackbut, psaltery, and dulcimer, and all kinds of music shall fall down and worship the golden image. And whoso falleth not down and worship it, that he should be cast into the midst of a burning fiery furnace. There are certain Jews whom thou hast set over the affairs of the province of Babylon, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. These men, O king, have not regarded thee. They serve not thy gods, nor worship the golden image which thou hast set up. Thou, O king, hast made a decree. They remind the king of his own rule. This represents reinforcing the system's authority. Before accusing, they establish, this is what you said should happen. Next line, every man shall fall down and worship. The standard is restated. This shows what is expected from everyone. It reinforces normal behavior within the system. Whoso falleth not shall be cast. The consequence is restated. This represents bringing fear back into focus. They are reminding the king there is a penalty for not conforming. Next line, there are certain Jews. Now they identify the targets. Specific individuals are singled out. Not everyone, but those who didn't conform, whom thou hast set over. This adds weight. It means these are not random people. They were trusted, elevated, and visible, which makes their non-conformity more threatening to the system. Have not regarded thee. This is how the accusation is framed. Not just they didn't follow the rule, but they disrespected you. This is key. They make it personal. Next line, they serve not thy gods. This shows misalignment with the system. They do not give value to what the system values, nor worship the golden image. Final confirmation: they did not conform. They did not align internally or externally. What's really happening? This is strategic accusation. They reinforce authority, restate the rule, highlight the consequence, identify the individuals, make it personal to provoke a reaction. The key truth: when someone wants to influence a decision, they don't just state facts, they frame the narrative. Examples: in relationship, when standards are used to reframe reality. What you hear: he should be sending you good morning texts. He should be paying your bills. He should open doors for you. She should be packing lunch for you. She should worship you. If they don't do this, they don't care. These sound like standards, expectations, how it should be. What's really happening? A rule is being introduced. Just like in the verse, the king made a decree. Now it becomes, this is what a real partner does. The subtle shift: before hearing this, you were okay. You felt fine. You weren't questioning things. After hearing this, you begin to think, wait, why don't they do that for me? Does this mean they don't care? Am I being undervalued? This is the key. Nothing changed externally, but the standard did. The framing: now it becomes, not just they don't do this, but they are failing you. It is turned into a personal issue. Balanced truth, very important. Some actions can genuinely reflect care, but not every relationship expresses care the same way. Everyone and their love value. The danger is turning preferences into universal rules. What happens next? You begin to measure your partner against the rule. You begin to focus on what's missing. You overlook what is present. The relationship shifts because your interpretation shifted. Connection to the verse: the rule is stated. The expectation is defined. The consequence is implied. And then people are judged based on that rule. The deep truth: not every should is truth. Some shoulds are preferences presented as standards. A relationship can feel peaceful until it is measured by a rule that was never part of it. The shift: instead of asking, are they doing what they should? Ask, how does this person actually show up for me? Are they showing up consistently, genuinely? Because truth is experienced, not imposed. The moment you start measuring love by someone else's checklist is the moment you risk missing what love actually looks like in your life. In career, what you hear, you should be making 6 figures by now. You should have your own business. You should not be working a 9 to 5. You should be financially free already. These sound like motivation, ambition, and leveling up. What's really happening? A rule is being introduced. Just like in the verse, the king made a decree. Now it becomes, this is what success looks like. The subtle shift. Before hearing this, you were progressing. You had clarity. You felt okay with your path. After hearing this, you begin to think, why am I not there yet? Am I behind? Am I wasting time? The key truth: nothing changed in your life but the standard date. The framing: now it becomes not just I'm not there yet, but I'm failing. Your journey is no longer seen as growth. It is seen as lack. Balanced truth: ambition and growth are good, but not everyone's path is the same. The danger is turning one path into the only path. What happens next? You begin to compare constantly. Rash decisions. Chase things that don't align. Your path shifts because your perception shifted. Connection to the verse. The rule is declared. The expectation is defined. The consequence is implied. And now you judge yourself by that rule. In religion, what you hear: you should pray this many times a day. You should follow this exact method. You should speak this way. If you don't do this, you are not right. These sound like discipline, structure, and spiritual growth. What's really happening? A rule is being introduced. Just like in the verse, the king made a decree. Now it becomes, this is what being right with God looks like. The subtle shift. Before hearing this, you had a personal connection. You had understanding. You had peace. After hearing this, you begin to think, am I doing enough? Am I doing it right? Am I missing something? Truth didn't change. Your confidence did. Now it becomes not just I'm learning, but I'm not enough. Your connection is no longer personal. It becomes performance-based. Balanced truth. Structure and discipline can help growth, but they are not the same as truth. The danger is turning methods into absolute requirements. What happens next? You begin to perform instead of connect. Begin to follow without understanding. You begin to suppress your inner awareness. Your experience shifts because your perception shifted. The moment you start measuring your life by someone else's definition is the moment you risk losing sight of what was already working. Verse 13. Then Nebuchadnezzar in his rage and fury commanded to bring Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. Then they brought these men before the king. Then Nebuchadnezzar. The king again represents what governs. This is your ruling mindset reacting. Not neutral anymore. Now it is emotionally activated. In his rage and fury. Rage equals intense anger. Fury equals emotional escalation. This represents what happens when truth challenges a system. The system doesn't respond calmly. It reacts emotionally. The key truth: when something is deeply rooted in identity, any challenge to it feels like a threat. Next line, commanded to bring. This is control. It represents forcing confrontation. The system now says, come here, face this. No longer distant, now it is direct. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, the aligned ones. It represents the part of you that did not conform. Now that part is being challenged directly. They brought these men before the king. This is exposure. It represents standing face to face with pressure. No hiding. No blending in. It is now direct confrontation with authority. The deep insight. This verse reveals when you don't conform, the system escalates from influence to pressure and confrontation. Example, in relationship. What happens? You decide, I'm not leaving this person. I'm okay with my relationship. Suddenly, people you've told get emotional. They argue strongly. They push harder. You hear, why are you staying? You are not seeing clearly. You are making a mistake. It becomes intense and personal. In career, you decide, I'm okay growing at my pace. I won't chase what doesn't align. Suddenly, you are questioned. You are challenged. You are pressured. You hear, why are you still there? You are wasting your time over there. You should be doing more. It becomes direct confrontation. In religion, what happens? You decide, I will think for myself. I will follow truth within. Suddenly, you are corrected, you are challenged, you are pressured. You hear, that's not right. You need to follow this. You are missing the truth. It becomes intense and direct. The moment you stop conforming is the moment the pressure stops being subtle and becomes direct. Verse 14 to 15. Nebuchadnezzar spake and said unto them, Is it true, O Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego? Do not ye serve my gods, nor worship the golden image which I have set up. Now if ye be ready, that at what time you hear the sound of the cornet, flute, harp, sackbut, psaltery, and dulcimer, and all kinds of music, ye fall down and worship the image which I have made. Well, but if ye worship not, ye shall be cast the same hour into the midst of a burning fiery furnace. And who is that God that shall deliver you out of my hands? Is it true that you do not ye serve my gods? This is confrontation. The system is asking, are you really not aligning with this? This represents questioning your stance. Are you sure about your decision? Are you really going against this? Next line, now if ye be ready. This is another chance. It represents opportunity to reconsider. The system gives you a way out, not to free you, but to bring you back into alignment. When you hear the sound, same trigger again. This shows the pattern doesn't change. The same emotional triggers, same influences, same messages are presented again. If you fall down, if you conform, everything is fine. This represents acceptance through alignment. The system says, just follow, and there's no problem. But if ye worship not, the alternative. This represents clear division. There is no middle ground. Ye shall be cast. The consequence remains. This shows pressure is still present. The choice is conform or face discomfort. Next line. Who is that God that shall deliver you? This is the deepest part. It represents challenging your inner conviction. The system questions, what will save you if you don't follow this? It shows up as, what if you are wrong? What if this doesn't work out? What if you fail? This is fear targeting your belief. The deep insight. This is the moment where the system gives you one last chance to choose. But the choice is framed as safety, which is conformity, versus risk, which is truth. The key truth. The hardest moment is not when you first feel pressure. It is when you are given a chance to go back and everything in you must decide. In relationship, what happens? After doubt and pressure, you still decide, I'm okay with my partner. I said I'm not leaving. Then comes, are you sure? Think about your future. What if you regret this? And the same ideas are repeated. The same fears are brought up. You are given a chance to go back to doubt. In career, what happens? You decide, I will grow at my pace. I won't chase what doesn't align. Then comes, are you sure? What if you never make it? What if you fall behind? And the same success standards are shown again. You are given a chance to go back to pressure. In religion, you decide, I will follow truth within. Then comes, are you sure? What if you are wrong? What if this is dangerous? And the same teachings are repeated. You are given a chance to go back to conformity. It is easy to stand when the pressure is distant. But when the question becomes, are you sure? That is where your truth is revealed. The final test is not about the system. It is about whether you will return to what you already knew was not true. Verse 16 to 18. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego answered and said to the king, O Nebuchadnezzar, we are not careful to answer thee in this matter. If it be so, our God whom we serve is able to deliver us from the burning fiery furnace, and he will deliver us out of thy hand, O king. But if not, be it known unto thee, O king, that we will not serve thy gods, nor worship the golden image which thou hast set up. We are not careful to answer thee. This is clarity. Not careless, but not anxious, not pressured, not shaken. This represents inner certainty. No overthinking. No fear-based hesitation. No need to justify excessively. They are settled within. Our God whom we serve. God equals truth or ultimate reality. Serve equals what you align with. This represents what governs them internally. Not the system, but truth within. Is able to deliver us. This is confidence. It represents trust in truth over fear. They are not relying on the system or external approval. They are rooted in inner alignment. He will deliver us. This is strong conviction. It shows certainty in their stance. No doubt. No negotiation. Just confidence. But if not, this is the deepest part. It represents detachment from outcome. Meaning, even if things don't go as expected, their decision does not change. The key truth. True alignment is not dependent on results. We will not serve thy gods. Final declaration. This represents complete refusal to conform, not influenced by pressure, fear, or outcome. This is absolute alignment. Nor worship the golden image. This is full rejection. It shows they did not accept the system. They did not internalize the image. They did not bow externally or internally. The deep insight. This is the moment where alignment becomes non-negotiable, not based on emotion, fear, and outcome, but based on truth. Relationship example. You are not reacting from fear, pressure, or outside voices. You are speaking from your lived experience. Your response becomes something like, I've been with this person for a long time. They've been consistent. Their good outweighs their bad. I'm not perfect either. I too have flaws. They've been patient with me too. We will work things out. This is deep because you are no longer judging the relationship based on trends, checklists, and external standards. You are judging it based on truth you've experienced. What makes this different from blind attachment? You are not saying, I will stay no matter what. You are saying, I see clearly and I am choosing consciously. Connection to the verse, we are not careful to answer, meaning no panic, no confusion, no fear-based decision. But if not, we will not bow, meaning even if pressure continues, even if others disagree, your decision does not change. What this reveals, this is mature discernment. You acknowledge imperfection. You recognize consistency. You value reality over appearance. This is not weakness, it is clarity. Real love is not built on perfect moments, but on consistency, understanding, and the willingness to grow together. The shift. Instead of asking, does this match what I've been told love should look like? Ask, what have I actually experienced with this person over time? Because truth is not always loud, but it is always consistent. Career example. After all the pressure, comparison, and noise, you say, I've been on this path for a while. I've grown consistently. I've learned valuable skills. This path may not look flashy, but it's building me. Not everything is about money or status. I'm not rushing into something that doesn't align. And most importantly, I'm not leaving this path just because of pressure. Why this is powerful? You are no longer judging your career based on social media, other people's timelines, and external definitions of success. You are judging it based on your actual growth and experience. You are not saying, I will stay stuck forever. You are saying, I am aware, intentional, and moving at my pace. Connection to the verse, we are not careful to answer. no panic, no comparison, no pressure-driven decisions. But if not, we will not bow. Even if others are ahead, if others don't understand, your decision remains grounded. Growth is not always loud. Sometimes it is quiet consistency that builds something real over time. The strongest career decision is not the one driven by pressure. It is the one made with full awareness of who you are becoming. In religion, after all the teachings, pressure, and voices, you say, I have experienced truth within myself. I have understanding, not just information. I'm not blindly following everything I hear. I respect teachings, but I also discern them. My connection is real, not performative. And most importantly, I'm not conforming out of fear. Why this is powerful? You are no longer defining truth based on external authority, fear of being wrong, and the pressure to conform. You are rooted in direct understanding and inner awareness. You are not saying everything is wrong. You are saying, I will verify and align with truth. Connection to the verse, our God whom we serve, meaning what governs you is truth within, not external pressure. But if not, we will not bow. Even if you are questioned, if you are misunderstood, your alignment does not change. True connection is not proven by how it looks outside, but by what you know within. The deepest faith is not the one that conforms. It is the one that remains even when it stands alone. Verse 19. There was Nebuchadnezzar full of fury, and the form of his visage was changed, and he commanded that they should heat the furnace 7 times more. There was Nebuchadnezzar full of fury. This is escalation. Before, pressure, persuasion, questions. Now, emotion intensifies. This represents when your clarity does not change, the pressure becomes stronger and more emotional. The form of his visage was changed, meaning his face changed. It represents a shift in attitude toward you. Before, advice, concern, conversation. Now, frustration, anger, opposition. This is the moment where you are no longer being gently persuaded. You are now being resisted. Against Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, the pressure is now personal, not general anymore. It is directed at you specifically. Heat the furnace 7 times more. 7 equals fullness or completion. It represents maximum pressure. Not just pressure, but intensified pressure. Everything becomes louder, stronger, more emotional, and more urgent. What's really happening? When you don't conform, the system doesn't stop, it escalates from influence to pressure to threat to intensified emotional force. In relationship, what this looks like. Maybe you were once confused, hurt, and seeking advice. You are at your lowest point, so you spoke to a friend or a family member, and they told you, leave. You deserve better. This isn't right. Then something changes. After deep reflection, you step back. You observe clearly. You weigh everything and you decide, I'm staying. I see things differently now. We will work through this. Now comes the reaction. When you tell them your decision, they respond, are you serious? After everything you said, why did you even come to me then? You are being stubborn. And sometimes they get upset. After you've calmly said, I'm staying, we will work things out. Now the reaction becomes, you are not listening. You are making a huge mistake. I'm done talking about this with you. Tone changes. Energy changes. Attitude changes. It becomes emotional and intense. Next line, 7 times hotter. This represents more arguments, more pressure, more emotional reactions, more extreme warnings. The goal now is to break your clarity. In career, what this looks like. After you've said, I'm staying on my path, now you hear, you are wasting your life. You are not serious. You regret this. More content appears. More comparisons show up. More urgency is felt. Everything becomes intensified. In religion, what this looks like. After you've said, I'm following what I understand to be true. Now you hear, that's dangerous thinking. You are being misled. You need to be careful. The tone becomes stronger and more forceful. The key truth. When your decision is weak, pressure is gentle. But when your decision is firm, pressure becomes intense. Not all resistance is a sign you are wrong. Sometimes resistance increases because you did not bend. Verse 20. And he commanded the most mighty men to bind Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, and to cast them into the burning fiery furnace. He commanded, no more persuasion. It represents authority taking control. Before, advice, pressure, emotion. Now, action is enforced. The most mighty men in his army. These are the strongest forces available. Symbolically, it represents your strongest internal and external pressures, such as fear, doubt, anxiety, social pressure, and emotional attachment. Not weak ones, the strongest ones. To bind. This is restriction. It represents limiting your freedom. In real life, you feel stuck. You feel overwhelmed. You feel unable to move freely. It's like your clarity is being constrained. Next line, and to cast them into the fiery furnace. Now the consequence is executed. This represents being thrown into discomfort, not imagined anymore, but experience emotional pain, isolation, uncertainty, and pressure becoming real. What's really happening? This is the moment where the system says, if you won't choose it, we will force the experience. This is forced confrontation with discomfort. In relationship, what this looks like. After all the pressure and warnings, you now experience distance from the person who advised you. You experience less support, tension in the relationships, and feeling alone in your decision. This is being bound. You feel restricted. You question yourself. You feel the weight of your decision. The fairness becomes real. It's no longer what if. It becomes this is happening now. In career, what this looks like. After choosing your path, you experience slower progress, financial pressure, doubt creeping in, comparison intensifying. You feel the weight of your decision. This is being bound by circumstance. In religion, what this looks like. After choosing your understanding, you experience isolation, being misunderstood, lack of support, and internal questioning. You feel the cost of standing in truth. The key truth. It is one thing to say you believe something. It is another to hold it when it costs you something. Clarity feels strong until it is tested by real experience. The shift. Instead of asking, why is this happening to me? Ask, can I still stand in what I know? Now that is no longer just a thought. The moment you are bound and placed in the fire is the moment your truth stops being theory and becomes lived reality. Verse 21. Then these men were bound in their coats, their breeches, and their hats, and their other garments, and were cast into the midst of the burning fiery furnace. Then these men were bound, still restrained. This confirms you enter this phase feeling limited, pressured, and unable to fully control the situation. You are not entering from a place of power, but from constraint. Next line, in their coats, breeches, hats, and garments. Garments represent identity, roles, labels, self-image. This means they were not stripped of anything. They entered the fire with their identity, their roles, and their external expressions. Symbolically, everything they carried with them went into the fire. The deep meaning. The fire tests not just your decision, but your identity, your beliefs, attachments, and self-image. And were cast into the midst. The center, the core, not near it, not around it, but fully in it. This represents full immersion in the experience. No escape, no partial exposure. You are in it completely. The burning fiery furnace. Now the experience is real and intense. This represents the full weight of your decision, emotional discomfort, uncertainty, isolation, pressure becoming reality. The deep insight. This verse reveals when you stand in truth, you are not spared from the experience. You go through it fully. The key truth. Standing in truth does not mean avoiding the fire. It means going through it without changing your alignment. Example, in relationship, what this looks like. After choosing to stay, you experience real relationship challenges, experience moments of doubt, lack of support from others. You experience emotional weight. You are not imagining anymore, you are living it. With their garments, you enter with your beliefs about love, your expectations, and your identity in the relationship. And all of that gets tested. In career, what this looks like. After choosing your path, you experience slow growth, financial pressure, comparison, and uncertainty. You are in the process fully. With their garments, you enter with your ambitions, your identity, and your expectations of success. And the fire tests what is real versus what is illusion. In religion, what this looks like. After choosing your understanding, you experience standing alone, being misunderstood, internal reflection, and deeper questioning. You are living your truth. With their garments, you enter with your beliefs, your understanding, your identity, and the fire tests what truly holds. You don't enter the fire as a different person. You enter it as who you are, and it reveals what in you is real. The fire does not just test your decision. It tests everything you brought with you. Verse 22. Therefore, because the king's commandment was urgent and the furnace exceedingly hot, the flame of the fire slew those men who took up Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. Because the king's commandment was urgent. Urgency again. This represents forced, rushed decisions under pressure. No space to think. No room for clarity. Urgency is not neutral. It is a tool of pressure. The furnace exceedingly hot. Pressure intensified to the maximum. This represents extreme emotional and psychological intensity. High stress, high emotion, high tension. Everything is amplified. The flames slew those men. This is the shocking part. The ones enforcing the pressure are affected by it. This represents the destructive nature of extreme pressure. It doesn't just harm the target, it also harms the ones carrying it out. Those who took up the enforcers. Symbolically, this represents forces that try to push you into conformity. External voices, internal fears, emotional pressure. And the key truth, they cannot survive the intensity they create. The deep insight. This verse reveals when pressure becomes extreme, it becomes unsustainable and it begins to destroy itself. Not all pressure is meant to break you. Some pressure reveals its own weakness. Relationship example, what this looks like. When someone keeps pushing, leave. You are wrong. You regret this. Over time, the relationship with them becomes strained. Trust breaks. Distance grows. The pressure damages the connection. They may lose their place in your life. In career, what this looks like. Constant pressure, hustle, compare, achieve leads to burnout, exhaustion, and loss of clarity. The system that pushes creates collapse within itself. In religion, what this looks like. Extreme pressure, fear, urgency, and threat leads to disconnection, confusion, and people walking away. The pressure undermines itself. Pressure can only go so far before it begins to collapse under its own weight. The moment pressure becomes extreme is often the moment it begins to lose its power. Verse 23. And these three men fell down bound into the midst of the burning fiery furnace. These three men, the aligned ones, they represent the part of you that felt the pressure, heard the fear, was challenged, but still did not bow. Fell down. This is important. Not gently placed, they fell. This represents loss of control over the situation. In real life, things don't go as planned. You can't control outcomes. You are forced into the experience. This is surrender to the moment. Next is bound, still restricted. This shows even in the fire, You may feel limited, constrained, and unable to act freely. This is being in the experience without full control. Next, into the midst, the center again. This is full immersion, not partial discomfort, not occasional pressure, but completely in it. The burning fiery furnace. The experience is now real, intense, and unavoidable. This represents emotional reality, consequences of your choice, the full weight of standing in truth. The deep insight. This verse reveals there comes a point where you can't think your way out. You can't avoid it. You can't delay it. You simply go through it. The key truth. Standing in truth does not remove the experience. It brings you through it. In relationship, what this looks like. After choosing to stay, you now experience real disagreements, emotional moments, outside voices fading, just you and your partner. No more advice, no more opinions, just the relationship itself. Fell down bound. You may feel vulnerable, exposed, uncertain at times, but you are still standing in your decision. In career, what this looks like. After choosing your path, you now experience real challenges, slow progress, responsibility. No more theory, it's now your lived reality. Fell down bound. You may feel stretched, pressured, and limited at times, but you are still in it fully. In religion, what this looks like. After choosing your understanding, you now experience real inner growth, real questioning, real solitude at times. No more borrowed beliefs, just your direct experience. Next is fell down bound. You may feel alone at times, challenged internally, pushed to deeper understanding, but you are still anchored. The fire is not the end. It is the place where your truth becomes real. Verse 24. Then Nebuchadnezzar was astonished and said, "Did we not cast 3 men bound into the fire?" Nebuchadnezzar was astonished. This is shock. This represents the system did not expect this outcome. The expectation was you would break. You would regret it. You will suffer in a way that proves them right. But instead, something unexpected is happening. Rose up in haste. Urgency again, but different now. Before, urgency was used to pressure you. Now, urgency comes from confusion and surprise. The system is now trying to understand What is happening? Next line. Did we not cast 3 men bound? He is confirming what he expected to happen. The expectation was they are bound. They are in the fire. They should be overwhelmed. But now, that expectation is being questioned. True, O king, this is confirmation from others. It represents agreement with the original expectation. Everyone expected the same outcome. Yes, they should be struggling. The deep insight. This verse reveals the moment you go through the fire and you don't break, the entire expectation around you collapses. The key truth. People often expect your decision to fail, especially when they warned you against it. But when it doesn't, it creates shock. Example, in relationship, what this looks like. People expected you'd come back complaining. You'd regret staying. You'd be unhappy. But instead, you are working through things. You are growing. You are stable. Now they are like, wait, I thought this wouldn't work. This is astonishment. In career, what this looks like. People expected you'd fail. You'd struggle endlessly. You'd come back asking for help. But instead, you are progressing. You are learning. You are building something real. Now they are like, wait, how is this working? This is unexpected outcome. In religion, what this looks like. People expected you'd get lost. You'd become confused. You'd come back. But instead, you are grounded. You are clear. You are growing. Now they are like, wait, how are you still stable? This is shift in perception. The moment you don't break is the moment everything they believed about your decision begins to change. Instead of asking, what if they are right? Ask, what if my experience turns out differently than what they expected? The greater shift happens not when you avoid the fire, but when you go through it and come out different than expected. Verse 25. Lo, I see 4 men loose, walking in the midst of the fire, and they have no hurt, and the form of the 4th is like the Son of God. I see 4 men. This is the first shift. They expected 3, but now there are 4. This represents something new has appeared in the fire. Something that was not visible before is now revealed within the experience. Next line, loose. This is powerful. Earlier, they were bound. Now they are free. This represents the fire removed what was restricting them. Not outside the fire, but inside it. walking in the midst of the fire. They are not struggling, not running, but walking. This represents peace within pressure. The fire is still there, but they are no longer controlled by it. Next line, they have no hurt. This is the shock. The expectation, pain, damage, regret. The reality, no harm. This represents what you feared did not destroy you. Next line, the fourth is like the Son of God. This is the deepest part. The fourth represents divine presence or higher awareness or truth revealed. This is the part of you that was always there, but is only revealed in the fire. Son of God means expression of truth, divine nature, higher self. This means in the fire, you encounter a deeper version of yourself. What's really happening? This verse reveals the fire does not destroy you. It reveals you. It removes fear, illusion, and false identity, and reveals truth, strength, and awareness. In relationship, what this looks like. After staying and going through it, you realize you are stronger than you thought. You are clearer than before. You understand the relationship deeply. And most importantly, you are no longer bound by fear or outside opinions. The fourth is your deeper awareness. The part of you that now knows why you chose, what you value, and what you stand for. In career, what this looks like. After staying on your path, you realize you've grown. You've learned resilience. You've built something real. And the fear of falling behind no longer controls you. The fourth is the confidence born from experience. In religion, what this looks like. After standing in your truth, you realize your understanding is deeper. Your connection is real. Your clarity is stronger. And fear of being wrong no longer dominates you. The fourth is direct awareness of truth within. The pattern, pressure is applied. You refuse to bow. You enter the fire. You are tested. You don't break. You are freed within the fire. A deeper truth is revealed. This is transformation through experience. The key truth. The fire you feared was not meant to destroy you. It was meant to reveal what cannot be destroyed. You don't find this version of yourself outside the fire. You find it when everything you feared does not break you. The greatest transformation does not happen when you escape the fire. It happens when you walk through it and realize you were never alone. What actually happens in the fire? It's not just that you survive. You lose fear that once controlled you. You gain clarity you didn't have before. You see reality without illusion. So the strength is not just I made it through. The strength is I see clearly now. In relationship, before the fire, you needed advice. You were unsure. You depended on others' opinions. After the fire, you understand relationships deeply. You've seen both the good and the hard. You know what is worth working on. Now, when someone comes to you, you don't just repeat what you heard. You speak from experience. In career, before the fire, you compared. You felt behind. You were unsure of your path. After the fire, you understand your pace. You know what aligns with you. You've built resilience. Now, when someone feels lost, you don't just motivate them. You guide them with lived understanding. In religion, before the fire, you relied on teachings. You feared being wrong. You followed externally. After the fire, you have direct understanding. Your connection is real. Your clarity is grounded. Now, when someone is confused, you don't just quote. You help them see from within. The real meaning of stronger. Stronger does not mean harder, closed off, or unaffected. Stronger means clearer, grounded, and unshaken by the same fears. Connection to the verse, they were in the fire, not destroyed, walking freely. That's not just survival, that's transformation. You don't come out of the fire as the same person. You come out with a knowing that cannot be taught, only lived. The greatest power is not that you survived. It is that now, when someone else is in the fire, you can guide them because you've walked there too. Verse 26. Nebuchadnezzar came near. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, ye servants of the Most High God, come forth. Then they came forth from the midst of the fire. Nebuchadnezzar came near. Before, he was distant, issuing commands. Now he moves closer. This represents a shift in perspective. The system that opposed you now comes to observe more closely. Next line, to the mouth of the furnace. He doesn't enter, but he comes near. This represents recognition without full understanding. He sees what's happening, but he hasn't lived it. Next line, servant of the Most High God. This is powerful. Before, who is that God? Now, acknowledgement. This represents a shift from resistance to recognition. What was questioned is now respected. Come forth. This is release. Before, they were forced into the fire. Now they are called out. This represents the end of the test. From the midst of the fire, they come out from the center. This is important. They didn't escape it. They came through it. This represents completion of the process. The deep insight. This verse reveals what once pressured you, challenged you, tried to break you, now recognizes your alignment. The key truth. You don't prove truth by avoiding pressure. You reveal truth by remaining unchanged through it. In relationship, what this looks like. People who said, leave the relationship, end it. It won't work. You'll regret it. Now see growth, stability, real understanding, and their tone changes. They say, I see now. You handled that well. This is recognition. In career, what this looks like. People who doubted your path now see progress, consistency, and results, and they begin to respect your choices. Ask questions, acknowledge your growth. This is validation after experience. In religion, what this looks like. People who questioned your understanding now see your groundedness, your clarity, your consistency, and they begin to recognize your depth and respect your stance. This is acknowledgement of truth lived. The pattern, you were pressured, you entered the fire, you did not break, you were transformed within. Others observed, perception shifted, truth was recognized. This is full transformation cycle. The same voice that questioned you may one day call you forward. You don't need to prove anything, because when truth is lived, even those who doubted will eventually see. Verse 27. All the rulers gathered and saw these men upon whose bodies the fire had no power, not a hair singe, their garments unchanged, not even the smell of fire on them. Princes, governors, captains, counselors, all gathered. Everyone is watching now. This represents full public observation. Not just one voice anymore. Multiple perspectives are witnessing your outcome. Next line, saw this man. It is no longer assumption. It is visible evidence. What people expected is now replaced with what they can clearly see. Next line, the fire had no power over them. This is the core truth. The fire was real, but it had no control over them. This represents pressure losing its influence. Not because the fire wasn't intense, but because they were no longer affected by it. Not a hair singe. Extreme detail. This shows no damage at any level. Symbolically, even the smallest part of you remains intact. Their garments unchanged. Identity remains the same. Remember, garments represent identity, roles, self-image. This means the fire did not change who they are. It did not distort their identity. This is unshaken identity. Next, no smell of fire. This is the deepest part. Not only no damage, but no trace of the experience. This represents the fire did not leave fear, trauma, and residue. It had no lasting effect. What's really happening? This verse reveals the highest level of transformation is not surviving with scars. It is going through and remaining unchanged at your core. The goal is not just I made it through. The deeper truth is it had no power over me. Examples in relationship, what this looks like. After going through everything, you are clear, grounded, not bitter, not shaken. You don't carry resentment. You don't carry fear or confusion. You come out with understanding, not damage. In career, what this looks like. After challenges, you are more confident, more grounded, not driven by fear anymore. You don't carry insecurity or comparison. You come out with clarity and direction. In religion, what this looks like. After questioning and testing, you are anchored, clear, and unshaken. You don't carry fear of being wrong. You don't carry dependency on external validation. You come out with direct knowing. The pattern: pressure is applied. Fear is introduced. You are tested. You go through the fire. You don't break. You are freed within it. You come out unchanged. This is complete transformation. The highest level of strength is not seen in avoiding the fire, but in walking through it and carrying no trace of it. Verse 28. Blessed be the God of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, who delivered his servants who trusted in him, changed the king's word, and yielded their bodies, that they might not serve nor worship any god except their own God. Blessed be the God. This is a complete Reversal. Before, who is that God? Now, honor and acknowledgement. This represents what was doubted is now recognized as valid. Who had sent his angel? Angel equals messenger or divine intervention or higher awareness. This represents the unseen support revealed in the fire. What looked like you standing alone was actually you supported at a deeper level. Delivered his servants. Delivered does not mean avoiding the fire. It means going through it and not being overcome. This is true deliverance. Who trusted in him? This is the foundation. Trust equals alignment with truth. It represents choosing from clarity, not fear. They didn't react, panic, or conform. They trusted what they knew. Next line, change the king's word. The system had a rule, bow or burn. But now, that rule is broken. This represents truth overriding external authority. What was supposed to happen no longer applies. Yielded their bodies. It means they were willing to face the consequence, willing to go through the fire without compromising their alignment. This is complete surrender to truth. That they might not serve nor worship. They did not conform, compromise, or bow even under maximum pressure. This represents unbreakable alignment. What's really happening? This verse reveals when you stand in truth fully, you don't just survive the system, you expose its limits. And in doing so, you change the narrative. The key truth: you don't change outcomes by arguing with pressure. You change outcomes by remaining unchanged within it. In relationship, what this looks like: people who once said, leave, it won't work, now see growth, stability, and understanding. And their tone shifts to, I see what you meant. You handled that well. This is the narrative changing. In career, what this looks like: people who doubted your path now see results, consistency, and real progress, and begin to respect your decisions and acknowledge your growth. This is validation through experience. In religion, what this looks like: people who questioned your understanding now see your clarity, your groundedness, your peace, and begin to recognize your depth. Respect your alignment. This is truth revealed through living it. The pattern: pressure is applied, fear is introduced. You refuse to bow, You enter the fire. You don't break. You are freed within it. You come out unchanged. The system recognizes truth. The narrative is rewritten. This is full transformation and revelation. The greatest testimony is not what you say. It is what remains true after everything tried to change it. The moment you stop trying to prove truth and start living it is the moment even what opposed you begins to acknowledge it. Verse 29, I make a decree. Anyone who speaks against this God shall be cut in pieces, because there is no other God who can deliver in this way. Important grounding. If this verse is taken literally, it sounds like punishment, violence, and false belief. But this represents something deeper. A complete shift in what is now recognized as true. I make a decree. The same authority that once said, bow or burn, now says, this is what is true. This represents a new governing belief. Next line, every people, nation, and language. This is broad. It represents all perspectives, all voices, all ways of thinking. Meaning, this realization is not limited. It becomes universally recognized within the system. Who speak anything amiss? Amiss equals misaligned or incorrect. It represents anything that contradicts what has now been revealed as true. Not random disagreement, but misrepresentation of truth. Next line, shall be cut in pieces. This represents false ideas being broken apart. Not people, but wrong perceptions losing their structure. Illusions cannot stay intact anymore. Next line, their houses made a dunghill. House represents structure, system, belief system. Dunghill equals worthless, broken down. This represents collapse of false foundations. What was built on illusion cannot stand anymore. Next line, because there is no other God. This is recognition. It represents clarity after experience. Not belief based on theory, but understanding based on what has been proven. Next line, who can deliver in this way? This is key. It acknowledges this kind of transformation is undeniable. Not avoiding the fire, but going through it untouched. The deep insight. This verse reveals, after truth is fully experienced, it becomes the new standard. And anything that contradicts it cannot hold its structure anymore. The key truth. Truth does not destroy people. It dismantles what is false. In relationships, what this looks like. After everything, you now see clearly what love actually is. What works versus what doesn't. So when false ideas come, love must look like this. You should have done this. You immediately recognize this is not true. Those ideas no longer hold power. In career, what this looks like. After your journey, you now see clearly. Success is not one path. Growth is not always visible. So when you hear, you must do this to succeed, you recognize this is not absolute truth. That belief falls apart. In religion, what this looks like. After your experience, you now see clearly what truth feels like, what is real versus borrowed. So when you hear fear-based ideas, misaligned teachings, you recognize this does not align. Those structures collapse within you. The final pattern. Truth is challenged. Pressure is applied. You stand firm. You go through the fire. You are transformed. Truth is revealed. Perception shifts. False structures collapse. This is full awakening pattern. Once you see clearly, you cannot unsee. When truth is revealed, it does not need to defend itself because everything false begins to fall apart on its own. Verse 30. Then the king promoted Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego in the province of Babylon. Then the king, the same authority that pressured, that challenged, that tested, now becomes the one that elevates. This represents a complete reversal in influence. Promoted, this is elevation. It represents increase in position, influence, and visibility. But not random. It comes after the fire. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, the aligned ones, they represent the parts of you that endured pressure, questioned influence, and stayed true. These are now what gets elevated. In the province of Babylon, Babylon equals the system or the environment. This is key. They are elevated within the same system, not removed from it, but now operating at a higher level within it. The deep insight. This verse reveals when you remain aligned through pressure, you don't just survive, you gain influence within the very environment that tested you. The key truth. Promotion is not the goal. It is the result of proven alignment. In relationship, what this looks like. After going through the fire, You now have deeper understanding, stronger boundaries, clearer communication. The relationship is now operating at a higher level. Not because it was easy, but because it was tested. In career, what this looks like. After staying true to your path, you now have real skills, resilience, and confidence. Opportunities increase, respect increases. This is earned elevation. In religion, what this looks like. After standing in truth, you now have clarity, grounded understanding, and inner authority. You are no longer easily shaken or dependent on external validation. This is spiritual maturity. The final pattern, the complete cycle. Identity is challenged. Pressure is applied. Fear is introduced. You refuse to bow. You enter the fire. You are tested. You don't break. Truth is revealed. False structures collapse. Recognition happens. Elevation follows. This is full transformation cycle. The fire was not meant to destroy you. It was meant to reveal you, so that when you rise with substance. True elevation does not come from avoiding the fire. It comes from walking through it and remaining unchanged at your core. So Daniel 3 was never just about a king or a furnace or 3 men in fire. It was about pressure, identity, and what happens when you refuse to bow. Because the truth is, the fire didn't come to destroy them. It came to reveal them. And maybe the same is true for you. Maybe the pressure you feel is not here to break you, but to show you what in you cannot be broken. Because scripture was never just meant to be read. It was meant to be seen. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. So the next time you feel the heat, don't just ask how to escape it. Ask, what is being revealed in you through it? Because the story was never just Daniel 3. It has always been about you. Thanks for listening, and I will see you in the next teaching. Have a good night.